This is a tale of two triggers that a man had. One that was in a safe place that he wondered why his pain came on, and the second one was one that he overtly can recognised was something that upset him. Tale of two triggers and how he dealt with them. Recognising triggers to pain is sometimes a puzzle in itself, but when you can get certain things, times, places, events, predictable, that you know have an influence over your pain, even though you might not know why exactly they trigger them or what to do in that moment, that's the first part. And here's an example of two triggers that somebody has who's doing really well with the process of understanding that the pain is not just due to physical elements. There's other things influencing it, and it was a little bit puzzled why these two particular things were affecting him in the way they were and what to do about them. So the first thing was when his head's in the lion's mouth, but not quite in the lion's mouth, and the trigger was his son. So he look at my hands, as he described him. He went, we just butt heads. So there's a situation going on for this man with his son. His son's the guy's about the same age as me, similar age, so his son's a teenager, early 20s or something. So sometimes there's challenges with that, with all children, and he's having that sort of challenge with them. We butt heads. Now, the trigger is that even a phone call from his son, and with all modern phones now, you see who's ringing you. You see a picture of them or the name, don't you, before you've even picked up the phone. And as he sees the phone and he anticipates the dynamic, the emotional charges that are going to be present with the conversation based on how they've been recently, how he'll react, how his son will react. You pretty much predict how it's going to go, can't you, when it's one of those situations. Both people are acting emotionally based on patterns, and that influences his pain, and that generally happens when he's working. And I don't know if they work together or something sometimes, but it's when he's already in a wired state and he has pain, and then there's this extra surge, if you like. So he knows that it's something that he will come into contact with. It's predictable. And what he currently does is looks at it, feels the surge, and then he won't answer the call. Just not, I can't. But blocking it like that is almost like shoving it down, suppressing it to deal with another day, to kick the can down the road. However, the body will just hold on to that. It's a little bit like if you had an argument with your neighbour last week. Think of somebody, think of your neighbour or a friend or a work colleague, and you had an argument with them a week ago. And I said to them, what do you think about them now? Now, some people will say, oh yeah, but they're doing me head in, and oh. Well, that means there's an emotional residue of that event. And the event's over, it's the past. And everybody has little kind of tiffs and disagreements and things like that, and generally you kind of flap your wings and kind of get on with it. Sometimes there's a bit of residue, and the more the surge, the bigger the argument, the bigger the event, the longer it goes, the residue stays in the system. It doesn't get metabolized. So there's a process to metabolize that before it becomes pain, because it becomes linked to physical pain, and it has done with this man. So this trigger said to him, if you know you're going to get the phone call and come into contact, and then use something he's already having success with. He loves the breathing and loves the movements that he's doing for the area of the body gets pain. So you do it on anticipation of the trigger. So for him, the phone call, he'll see the face. He might choose to not answer the call, and that's not a bad thing, to put space between the reaction and the trigger. But you do something to take the nervous system down just as you experience it, if you can anticipate it, yeah, then as you experience it, and then just as you come after the surge, if you like. So if the phone rings, it might be take 3 slow breaths. You can look at the call as you're taking the breath and recognize if it's something that is a triggering or not. Breathe as you can, recognize your head's in the lion's mouth or going into the lion's mouth. If you choose to take the call or him, deal with that, fine. As the call is ended, bring the system down straight away. It can be a calm word, rational word, although words aren't that helpful when you're in a highly charged emotional state. The breath is the fastest physiological response to do it, unless there's somebody there to give you a hug, because that's the quickest. If there's something physical you can do, that almost hugging yourself, right, but make it contextual as to where you may feel the pain, or contextual to where you know there's another safe part of your body. It might be shrugging your shoulders, it might be stretching your back, it might be going for a little walk on the block. Might do the breathing for it, and you discharge the emotional kind of metabolites of that moment. And you break the chain, break the loop. So you create a chain and break the loop. So he's now got a mechanism to start to change not the external triggers to what's happening, but his internal reactions to them. He's now getting responses that are calm and rational and safe. Doesn't mean he won't hit the heights that we do with children or people or places sometimes, but that won't be a compulsion to do that, because he's got some alternate choices that the brain can select, and he can select. Now when you come to the other trigger, is his chair. Now the chair is his safe place, so you get pain in the chair after about 15 minutes. And he said, I sit in this chair to read, and I never read before, but I'm starting to read, and I really enjoy reading, but then my back hurts. And the back pain in the chair for a 50-odd-year-old man is not due to his wear and tear, or his age, or his height, or his weight, or his historical degenerative changes that he's got. It's just a chair and a man in a chair. But if you're getting pain after 15-20 minutes and he's kind of shuffling around, that's the emotional residue, if you like, the tension in the system from some of these triggers. So once he starts dealing with the triggers through the day, this chair position will become more comfortable. But what he was doing is, he said, I've moved the chair and I shift the cushions, and I'm trying to prepare the chair so I'll be comfortable when I read, because if I'm not, it's uncomfortable, it upsets me reading. Now what he's doing there, he's preparing the chair. You've got to prepare yourself for the chair. It's not preparing the external environment. You can't control everything outside of you. You've got to control yourself in preparation for something that should be safe. You can't expect that external circumstance to make you safe without you doing anything to join in with it. And if you set yourself on fire, you can't just kind of sit in the chair and not feel the pain of the burning. You have to recognize the triggers and do things that regulate both elements. If your head is in the lion's mouth, calm yourself with whatever technique that you have heard about that helps, or any that I've suggested. When you come to a truly safe place, if you have pain, it's a payback from what you've done before. It's pain, you've got pain in the match or after the match essentially, and your body's just feeding that back. So if you go into a truly safe place to read a book for 15 minutes, whatever, you've got to over-egg the calmness, even in the calm place. You've got to over-egg it. And that might mean sitting in that chair without that book for 15 minutes for him, and just getting used to sitting on that chair, being calm, showing himself that he is calm in the chair. Then you can pick up a book, and then you can notice how comfortable it is and how the body will allow you to sit for a little bit longer. And if that's 15 minutes it doesn't, then practice sitting without the book and standing and moving around without hitting the threshold of pain, without the pain even coming on. So it demonstrates that you're looking after yourself. Even in the safe place, you're making yourself safer than safe in the safe place. So the nervous system doesn't even have to do anything else because it sees you doing it. You're feeding back safety, over egging it. But if you get frustrated with it and annoyed with yourself for having to do it, that's the signal you're sending back. So if you've got a safe place that doesn't feel safe, over egg the safeness before you get there. If you've got a trigger that you know is predictable and you know how you're going to react and how the other person's going to react, but put some space between you and it. And if you can't, have a mechanism ready for when your head's in the lion's mouth. Have it ready for just before. Use it as you're with them. And as soon as it's over, bring yourself back down. And when you go back to your safe place, it really truly will feel safe.